Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, Patrick and Mark have been replaced by Rabbid Patrick and Rabbid Mark. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Rabbid Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell. How's it going, Mark?
It's going pretty good. I just expelled a significant amount of mucus from my body.
Mark is still sick.
Yeah, so you know how you blow your nose,
I do.
and then you have like a brief moment of relief before like so many skee balls in a skee ball machine, just more mucus is like, "Oh, you're out of mucus. Let me get some more for you."
Yeah.
I'm enjoying those brief moments of actually being able to breathe through my nose. So we'll see how long this lasts.
Last week I had a runny nose. And I wasn't sick or anything. I think allergies or I don't know what. There's a little bit I thought I was allergic to the feathers in my pillows on the couch.
Oh no.
But then Sarah told me that wasn't true. So I don't know. I think it's still maybe. It doesn't matter. My nose was running and it was doing something I'd never experienced before where it would just liquid snot would just start to pour out of my nose.
Oh, with no warning.
With no warning.
It's awful, especially when you're at work and you're like, oh no, at any moment. Oh, at any moment.
Or on a date. What do you do? Mark, we've been playing Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
That's right.
On the Switch, and we are going to talk about it. That's all this episode is. So if you... I mean, I don't really think there are story spoilers in this game.
Not really.
But, we'll dance around if there aren't.
Yeah, I think we're just going to talk about every... Yeah. So if you're sensitive to, bosses and that kind of stuff, we will be talking about it by name. So play the game and then come back and listen to it.
And if you're just partway through the game, I'll just say right off the bat, I finished the second world. And Mark is in the middle of the third world. Right now.
I'm in the spooky world. So if you already passed that, we're not going to spoil anything that you haven't seen yet.
And again, I know I am particularly spoiler permissive. I don't believe in spoilers, but I don't think we're not going to say anything that's going to ruin anyone's experience here.
No.
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. How are you enjoying it thus far, Mark?
I am enjoying it a surprising amount because I, in general, do not like tactical RPGs.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot on this show about how I just don't have the patience for strategy games where I have to plan my moves ahead of the time. And I feel like this is a really good game that kind of splits the difference. I think if you are more tactical minded, you will be rewarded. If you're like me and you don't really have the patience for that kind of thing, you can still make your way through it.
Yeah. Well, in the game, it rewards you for completing in a certain number of turns and without any of your characters dying. But this is the opposite of a Fire Emblem game in that Fire Emblem is famous for featuring permadeath. But this, it's your character is just knocked out for the rest of that fight.
Yeah, you don't even have to spend coins or anything to revive them.
Right. They're just back. Because the game is more interested in you having fun than punishing you for not being an excellent tactician.
Now,
right?
Before we get into the mechanics of the gameplay and stuff like that, I do want to just talk about in general this game because it's a unique bird in the world of Nintendo.
Yeah,
it is a third-party developed game. It's developed by Ubisoft, heavily featuring Mario and the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, Mario, Luigi, the princess, and Yoshi, all playable characters.
And it's mashing this world up. It's mashing the Mushroom Kingdom up with Rabbids, which are like minions. They are both loved and loathed. And so it has the potential to be a disaster.
So can we just talk about Rabbids for a second?
Please.
So I was always under the assumption that I don't like the Rabbids because they remind me of the minions, because their humor seems juvenile and gross. But I've never actually played any of the Rabbids minigame collections for Wii. I haven't even really played that many Rayman games, so I'm not super exposed to these characters. I find that I sort of really like them.
So I think I agree with you. And I think they've done a really good job. I think it's because the most Rabbids of like just straight up OG Rabbids you're going to get
Yeah.
is in the intro. There's like a 6-minute video that opens the game and it features Rabbids doing like what you expect Rabbids to do very heavily.
Right.
And then
they're just like weird little balls of chaos, right?
Yeah,
They're just like
yeah.
following their id to like wreck stuff
Yeah,
or
and they like
climb
fart
things.
and they scratch their butt and
Right.
you know like that's hilarious.
Mhm.
And but then once the game actually begins, you have Rabbids in your party. You at some point in the game, you don't have to even have them anymore. You could go all Nintendo characters.
Right.
But there are Rabbid versions of Nintendo characters in your party. But other than that, you can pretty much completely avoid interacting with Rabbids.
Yeah, it's like if you want the Rabbid humor, you can like see them in the background and then like push a button to investigate it, and then they'll do something funny, and there's like a little bit of funny copy that goes along with it, and it usually works for me. I'm usually like, yeah, I want these jokes. Show me the Rabbids doing silly things.
Well, because they're usually they lean more on the side of like cute,
yeah,
versus crass, and I think that in general sums up the game. Where I think any worries anybody had when they heard Rabbids,
right?
You don't need to be worried. If you were avoiding this game because you hate the Rabbids, you can hate Rabbids and still really like this game.
I think that, but with a little bit of a caveat, because the party that you start with is Mario and the Luigi Rabbid and the Peach Rabbid, Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi, I guess are their names. And it takes a little while before you get Luigi in your party, and then by the end of World 2, you get the princess in your party as well. So it does take a little while before you are able to get an all Mario party.
Yeah, but I feel like the Rabbids that you're paired with, like Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi, are a different breed of Rabbids.
Mm-hmm.
They have more like specific personality. Like Rabbid Luigi,
he's such a doof.
Yeah, and like Rabbid Peach is very much like all about like selfies and stuff. And I know this sounds so annoying, but they make it very charming.
Yeah, I love Rabbid Peach. I think she's great. I never want to take her out of my party. Because like depending on who is in your party, the other two characters will react to whatever's going on with Mario. And like, you know, I if it's Luigi or Rabbid Luigi, they're kind of like, you know, but Rabbid Peach is always approaching something with like some undue confidence and like trying to take a picture with it. She's just got so much personality. I like her a lot.
Yeah, I really think the characters, just in general, I think this game is a triumph of like aesthetic design.
Mm-hmm.
The music is amazing.
Yeah, and we get to hear a lot of pieces of music that we haven't really heard in a while, like the running around the castle in Mario 64 music, that dun 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 dun.
And the music when you from the original Super Mario Brothers, when you would get a flagpole.
Yeah.
The do 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 do. Yeah, like that in a really nice arrangement. I think graphically it's really nice. Like it's very cartoony and fun.
Mm-hmm.
It feels okay for Mario to be there, which to me is a huge achievement.
Yeah, and it even seems it doesn't feel super weird to have Mario shooting a gun in this game. And they're like all the characters have these they're like arm cannon kind of weapons. And they're all like the aesthetics that are tied to these weapons, like some of them will like burn the enemy, right? And like that sounds like kind of a violent thing. But like sometimes the enemy or the weapons have honey effects, and so your enemy is stuck to the ground with honey, or like you spring bounce them away. So like there's so many of like the aesthetics that are tied to the weapons that make them feel more like toys than like instruments of violence.
Yeah, absolutely. It all has a very like cartoony aesthetic. And I think that's a good segue to talk about the amount of customization that's available in the game.
Yeah.
There are skill trees for each character, and there are tons and tons of weapons and secondary weapons that you find in the game world,
Mm-hmm.
and then you like purchase with coins. they're generous with coins.
But
So
even still, there's if you want you aren't able to buy all the weapons.
you're
right
not
away.
able to buy everything, but you are able to continually upgrade.
Yes.
Which is, I just feel like they did a really good job of towing the line between having customization for people who are want to take the game very seriously and letting people who want to play more casually, like myself, play, including an easy mode that you can initiate at the beginning of every battle
So have you done this easy mode?
all the time.
Oh, all that. What? So what does it do? What is it?
All it does is fill all your character's life
Uh-huh.
full, and then gives you an extra 50%.
Of health?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And yeah, I use it constantly because there were a couple of levels, like the beginning of World 3, where I wasn't using it, and it was just frustrating to me because I was dying all the time. And some of that was like I wasn't playing tactically. Like once I changed my tactics,
Yeah.
it changed. But I was like, why am I not always doing easy mode? I enjoy this game so much more
Yeah.
when I'm just like when it's I don't feel like it's a like easy win button, but it's just made it way more enjoyable for me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and also like in the game when like it chops up each world into individual levels, and a level can have more than one encounter in it, more than one fight in it, right? And you're not automatically healed between them. So I could see that being useful for a lot of like the second or third fights in those things where you just scrape by with like 12 hit points left on Mario, and you're like, oh no, I'm gonna lose Mario. So that's interesting. I will maybe take advantage of that as I get a little bit deeper in here.
Well, how have you been playing the game? Like, who do you take as your party, and are you more aggressive? Are you more like defensive? Like, how do you approach things?
So it depends on what the fight is. I love the traversal in this game and how you can like do the slide tackle moves, and then like every time that I can have Mario slide tackle someone and then run back to one of his teammates and jump off of them and land on a guy for damage and then hit him with a hammer, like I like to make them do the tricks, so like the more they're dancing around in a turn, the better for me. I really like to get those turn number, like get them in under the turn limits. But it's not always possible. I after finishing the first world, I went back and did all of them again. To get them all without any of the characters dying and in the number of turns allotted, which is easier because your characters are stronger at that point. And I just finished World 2. I'll probably go back and do them again. But yeah, so I guess to answer your original question directly, it varies on like how I'm feeling. Do you just like to charge in, or are you?
For the most part, but what I have also appreciated about the game is that you can't always do that.
Right.
You can't always just charge in. I feel like you can't always have the same party members.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like there are better situations. Like, so in World 3, I think like the first encounter in World 3, the goal is just to kill 10 enemies.
Yeah.
And I was just getting murdered.
Yeah.
Because I was being super aggressive and like charging out towards them. And when I changed my tactics and became defensive and just like lured them in one by one, became a little more patient, it became way easier.
Yeah.
And way more like fun because it did have that like sense of like, oh, I actually have to like kind of like figure it out and plan my moves
instead of just like marching your characters forward to victory. Yeah. So I'm interested in this first encounter in World 3. I haven't done it yet. But so who do you end up using for that? Like
so who I ended up using was Mario, who always has to be in your party.
Right.
He's the leader. And then I used Peach and Rabbid Mario.
That was going to be my guess, because they both Peach and Rabbid Mario have those like kind of shotgun blasts that like hit multiple enemies when they shoot, and Rabbid Mario has the like lure enemies ability.
Yeah, like the dance.
Yeah. And also just Peach is a good defensive character. And she's got that like Overwatch ability. Actually, Mario and Luigi have it as well. Super useful.
Oh yeah, super useful. What it is basically is it's a special move that you have that you can use at any time. That you set it, and then if an enemy on their turn like moves into your line of sight within a specific radius, then you will shoot at them.
Right. And that can be at any time. So like I've had it. So like Mario is set on is it called Hero's Sight or something like that?
I can't remember.
And like another one of my characters shoots a Rabbid and like does like a bounce back. And so like he bounces into Mario's field of vision, and Mario's like, "Oh, I can shoot this guy." So it's cool to like see those sorts of things chain together.
One thing that I do feel like the game is kind of limited, and I would like to see expanded on in the future, is those like combos. Because outside of you being able to like jump on your teammates to get further, and these like heroes vision type things where, you know, if one of your characters causes an enemy to like move, then it causes a chain reaction. Outside of that, there's not really like, you can't have two characters aimed at one enemy and it makes like a super combo or something.
Right. But I mean, like there is a little bit of like just keeping the characters close to each other so that like, you know, you can make them jump off of each other. That jump assist is a cool mechanic that like you can use it to get the characters up to higher ground, but like you can never get all of them up there. Like there's always going to be one person stranded, and they just have to like find another way around it.
Especially because one thing I wasn't really expecting but have enjoyed is there's some like mission variety. It's not all just like take out 10 enemies or take out the boss. There's some where the goal is just to get from one end of the course to the other.
Yeah.
And that's where that like jump really comes into play, because you'll always have a character who's straggling behind.
Right.
And there's a couple of escort mission type things, but it doesn't feel, I don't hate them because it's always moving.
I mean, and you're also controlling the character that you're escorting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the things that'll drive you nuts in an escort mission is when, you know, the Ashley won't jump into the garbage thing to hide from the zombies in Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, if Toad and Toadette, who are the only escort ones I've found so far,
yeah, likewise,
were AI controlled, that would be mad at me.
It'd be a nightmare. Have you gone back into any levels to like try to get better scores or anything?
I haven't done it to get better scores. I have done it to try to open up some of the areas that I couldn't get into before, because it's like a little, I don't even know what like a VR Roomba type thing.
Yeah, so it is. Well, I mean, should we talk about like the concept of the game with this? So there is introduced in this 6-minute cartoon thing at the beginning. We are introduced to a young inventor who has developed a headset that merges things together. And of course, this gets into the hands of rabbits who merge their world with the world of the Mushroom Kingdom. And the rabbit who has this thing on his head, first of all, he turns into like a mix of like a computer and himself. This guy's so cute. Bowser Jr. calls him Spawny, but it's such a cute character, and like his eyes are enormous. But so he's merging things together. And one of the things that he merges together is our inventor's like robot buddy and a rabbit. So it like has ears, but it looks like a Roomba with rabbit ears. And that his name is Beepo or Beep Zero. And you follow him around as you're traversing the Mushroom Kingdom. And so that's for everything between the individual fights, right? And all of that is like pretty simple problem solving stuff. How are you feeling about the stuff between the fights?
So they're like little puzzles.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like pushing blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, for me, again, it's the perfect balance between having a little bit of challenge, but being able to kind of just cruise through them.
Yeah. Where like every now and then you're like, well, wait a minute. How do I? Oh, okay. No, I got it. Like,
yeah.
Nothing's going to break your brain.
Yeah. And you never feel like stumped. I never felt like I got to get a guide or something.
Yeah.
It always felt attainable. But also, Beepo, it's like a Samus situation, right? Like he starts out and he can't like push blocks and he can't pick up statues and things like that.
Right.
And hidden in each world are like little areas that you can't access yet because you're not able to break blocks yet and that kind of stuff. And so as you get to world 2, you get a new ability. You get to world 3, you get a new ability. And then at that point, if you go back to world 1, then you can access more of those like hidden areas, get new items, new weapons, that sort of thing.
And just straight up new collectibles.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, new collectibles.
There are like 3D models, which are like in-game amiibos, basically, and just like other artwork and stuff.
So I haven't been doing a lot of that because I've been trying to just like make forward progress.
Yeah.
And also because the game isn't that punishing in a positive way for me, where I think the worst you can do in a level other than getting a game over is just good.
Right.
You know, if
you still did good.
Yeah, like if to get a perfect or great or whatever they call it, if it's like a par 5, basically, you know, you have 5 turns to get there. If you get 6, it's not like you get a game over. You just get 100 less coins or something like that.
Right. Well, and a few fewer orbs.
Yeah, power orbs that you use to level up your character.
Yeah, in the skill tree. Yeah. But so how you find like the puzzle solving there to be like adequate?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
even
fun.
Kind of fun.
And there's even like those bonus levels that you get shot into like this like kind of like blue Tron grid thing, and all it is like you have 10 to 20 seconds depending on the level to collect all the blue coins in there.
Yeah, it feels like
very little puzzles.
It feels like a very like Donkey Kong Country kind of thing.
Yeah, yes. It also kind of reminded me of Super Mario Sunshine, where you would do these little like bonus levels.
Yeah, that are more abstract kind of.
Yeah. So yeah, I like all of that stuff. I'm really like, it gives texture to the game, and it makes it feel like you're not always doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, it keeps it from being samey. You know, when we talked about Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, you know, I mentioned that there are these levels where you're like actually running around in caves, and that is a nice way to just break up the monotony of doing Fire Emblem battle after Fire Emblem battle. And I feel like, you know, it's not a great mode on its own, or like I wouldn't want to play a game that's just that, but to have it in here breaking up stuff is great. And I think that Mario plus Rabbids manages the same task. It's weird that like there is a monotony built into tactics games, right? That like even when I'm playing this game and enjoying it, sometimes it does feel very slow. And like it's not an action-packed kind of game, but I like that there are so many little like recesses in it.
So yeah, to your point, I am really enjoying this game. I think it's fun, but last weekend when I had the choice between playing this and playing some Splatoon 2, it was difficult for me to not choose Splatoon 2. Like, I like this game. When I am playing it, I am enjoying it, but I never feel the impetus to keep going.
To keep going, or to like pick it back up?
Or like within the game, I'll like, you know, do a few battles and I'm like, that's enough for me.
Okay.
Or, you know, like it's hard for me to be like, I really want to see the end of this game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'll keep playing through it to see it through to the end, because it's not a bad game by any means. I mean, I've been praising it. I've really enjoyed my time with it, but it doesn't feel essential to me.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Essential is a weird thing to like ask of a game. I think it's a lot of fun. I think I'm definitely going to keep playing this game. You know, beyond this conversation, I would like to see the end of it, not because I want to see how it ends, but just because I'm enjoying the process and I want to see what challenges it throws at you. But also like I also want to get all the characters at some point. I only have like 6 of them right now. 6, 5, something. I don't have any Yoshis yet, which is weird. But like I like the weapons, and I want to see like all of that grow, and just all of these. The game's so goofy and so funny. Like I just want to see what it has to offer. You know?
Do you feel like you would buy at this point? Are you like, man, I should get that season pass?
Not yet. I may when I get to the end, and decide that I want to play more, or when it comes out and people are like, it's good. But yeah, like I don't. First of all, I don't need those steampunk weapons at the beginning. My copy of the game came with a download code for 8-bit weapons for everyone. So I entered that and I tagged all of my amiibo in. So I had like a bunch of extra weapons right from the beginning. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like there's so much content that I'm already sorting through, I guess, that I'll have to wait and see about getting more of it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel really conflicted because it's a game that I'm really enjoying. I just think it comes down to my hesitation before it was released, where like I don't know, I've in the past have not enjoyed tactical games,
Mm-hmm.
and I think even though they make it as frictionless as possible, even like the menu system is super frictionless. Like to get to the battle headquarters, you can hit a button at basically any time.
Yeah.
Like I was worried you'd have to warp back to Princess Peach's castle and then run around the world and like enter
Right.
the battle headquarters. You don't have to do any of that.
Unless you are in fact at Princess Peach's castle, and then you can't just push.
Then you are
X,
forced to.
And then you have to run over there.
Yeah. So I think they've done an amazing job of taking away all the friction for people like myself who maybe weren't like, oh yeah, I love tactical games. But I still think there is some of that, especially as the game gets harder, that like tactical aspect of it.
Sure.
That I just don't know that I want to put the time into.
Well, so maybe that is part of it that I haven't run into. I've lost battles before and or restarted them or whatever, but I haven't gotten to the place where I keep hitting my head against the wall. Because there are some fights will go on, right? Like the second world boss fight goes on for kind of a while, and like I lost Mario during
Is that the
it.
Donkey Kong one?
No, that's the first world boss. The second world boss is like a big. He starts with a refrigerator.
Oh
as
yeah,
a shield.
the shield. Yeah.
And that one took me a long time. And like as I was getting near the end of it, I was like, oh, if I die now and I have to like start the battle again, I'm not gonna be happy to like sink another 20 minutes into the same fight. But I mean, for the most part, they're not long levels, right?
Right.
It's really just the boss fights that can, and maybe the mid boss fights can drag on a little bit. But I liked that the Donkey Kong fight and like figuring out the trick of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one too. So it's a Donkey Kong Rabbid
Yeah, that's right.
combination, and he has a big pile of bananas, and he will always, if you try to attack him directly, he will just eat the bananas. So what you have to do is
Like to heal up. Right.
So what you have to do is send one of your characters onto this plate in front of, like a switch that's in front of his bananas, and it causes the bananas to drop, and then all three of you can wail on him, and you have to do that 3 different times.
Right. And every time he like kind of repopulates the stage with other little rabbits to get in your way.
And usually when it's his turn, he will like pound the ground.
Yeah.
So if you aren't on one of the safe spaces, it'll knock all of your characters back.
And they all take damage too. Yeah, I mean that battle lasts a long time, but again, this is just like the Rabbids are so full of personality, and the Donkey Kong personality or Donkey Kong Rabbid when he like just pops a banana into his mouth and like kind of like absentmindedly looks away and like chews on it. It's so funny. Like you see the animation, I don't know, 20 times during this fight. I loved it and laughed every single time.
It's all very charming.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the second boss that is using a giant refrigerator door as a shield. It's just like the game has no like limits on its silliness, right? Like it's just like whatever we want to do, any part of it, it can make as little sense as we want it to.
And that's like what the Rabbids give this
Yeah.
game. Is that
Yeah.
like license to just be really silly and have it not matter.
Yeah. So this is obviously a different kind of gameplay for Mario, right? But seeing Mario in a more like narrative like driven game, the story's not super complicated, but like it never is in a Mario RPG, right? Or a Paper Mario or Mario and Luigi game. Does this feel to you like the beginning of a new like branch of the Mario RPG?
I would pick up a second go at this.
Yeah.
Like one where they were able, like for a first go,
Mhm.
it's incredibly like well done and polished. And I would be very excited to see what they could do, being able to iterate on this base.
Yeah, I mean, like as a proof of concept, it is a good proof and a fun concept. Yeah, I like this game a lot. Kind of even more than I was expecting to.
Completely.
Yeah. So what I know, like you and I were both like excited about, or we had given ourselves over to the idea that like, okay, Mario plus Rabbids, that can be fun. What were you worried about going into this game?
Not to harp on this endlessly, but just the combat, just
Yeah.
getting bored of it very quickly. And I think everybody gets annoyed with like the little things in games that you have to do that take like a millisecond but add up very quickly over time. Like in Animal Crossing New Leaf, like having to take a shovel out, then put it back in. It takes like half a second, but when you're doing it over and over, it feels endless.
Yeah.
And I feel like this game has done a very good job of doing away with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that was basically my big worry.
Yeah. And you find that the UI is smooth enough that you don't really have any of that.
Yeah, and I feel like the game does a really good job of like helping you out if you are not intent on meeting it head on at its like most difficult challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I feel like the game also just like does a nice job of like just subtly rewarding you with things that are worth it, like finding new weapons that, double your attack power, or like when you level up, when you beat a new world and like everyone's hit points go up a lot. And even like navigating the skill tree, it's fun to be like, oh, my slide tackle does 30 damage instead of 20 now. That's huge, and like all of that coupled with the just sort of like narrative bonuses. You get emails from, I assume they're from the
inventor.
I
think, yeah.
And like, I don't know, just the relationship between her and Beepo, and you, the player, is very like fun and warm and funny. I don't know. I have very few complaints about this game at this point. I think I may like it more than you do. But
yeah,
I think I like tactics games better than
yeah.
you do.
I think that's totally true.
I think it's true, Mark. Does this make you think about picking up other tactics games, or does this feel like an isolated?
This feels a little. I mean, if anything, this makes me more hesitant to pick up other tactical games because this is clearly my limit.
Right, this is a tactical game for Mark Mitchell.
Yeah,
right.
And even that's like pushing up against the ceiling of how much I want to invest in like the tactics of something.
Mm-hmm.
So no, if anything, it's made me more like I don't think I can make it through a Fire Emblem game.
Well, and that's Fire Emblem games are long. They're good, but they are long. What is your favorite enemy Rabbid you've encountered so far?
I'm gonna hedge on this a little bit because I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Okay.
Even though we've talked about how much we don't care about spoilers.
I don't care about spoilers.
And gave a long-winded warning at the beginning that we were going to spoil everything. But I will say one aspect of design that really tickled me is that I am going to spoil for you.
Please.
Is in the like spooky world, whatever it's called. There are these big like tentacle vine type things, and they are playing like kind of like harps that are organic.
Yeah.
And if you just kind of like put the controller down and just like settle for a little bit, you can hear that they are playing in time. They're like accompanying the
like the stage music.
Yeah, the stage music. And
that's so cool.
It's a really fun detail.
That's nice. I actually think this game has a ton of fun details like that. Like when you are targeting Rabbids, that like they'll like kind of put their hands out and be like, no, don't shoot me. Or like your ally characters will like duck down or like get out of the way. It's just like all those details are really, really good. I like the shield guys that put their hands up when they know that they've been flanked. That pleases me a lot.
Yeah, I feel like in general, this really is the best marriage of a third party and Nintendo. It kind of has like the best of both. I don't know that Nintendo would on their own make something like this, but it has, to my mind, the magic of and the polish of a Nintendo game.
Yeah, absolutely. There are in some of the like kind of cutscene segments, if you are like trying to just like jam through the dialogue as fast as you can, it kind of like skips frames of animation.
Have you noticed any freezing? I've sometimes it doesn't seem to be like one specific animation or anything, but if you trigger an animation, it just like stalls the game for a second or two and then jumps ahead.
I have not experienced that. I know that that some people have been experiencing like freezing and crashing, but like I don't know. Ubisoft tends to put out games that they need to like patch as they go. Um, but like this is a pretty polished game on release.
And for me, the experience of playing on the Switch really like sold the promise of that console because a lot of the time I play it docked
Mm-hmm.
when I'm at home. Not all the time, but recently more frequently. And my power went out on Thursday in like the middle of the heat wave, and it was amazing to just be able to be like, all right, the power's out, but I can just take my Switch out and I can play.
I can keep playing.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty. And, like I was saying, I had friends over this weekend, so like when we were playing it together, which was sometimes what we would do, we could do that. But if like other people want to use the TV for something, I can still play the game. Yeah, totally. The promise of the Switch, well demonstrated with this game, I think, because like some of these battles, especially if you fought in a battle and you lost and you're like, I'll get back to that later. And then when you pick it back up and you want to knock that out while like watching TV or whatever, you can do that. Yeah, that's a good, like specifically that this kind of game works well on something that you can take away from your TV.
Totally.
Are there other like so this is Mario and the Rabbids, two franchises that we never would have even considered in the same whatever. Does this make you think of other insane crossovers that we may want to see from other developers?
I don't know. Never say never when there's like an Assassin's Creed Final Fantasy 15 mashup coming out.
That's
and,
yeah.
I can't even hazard a guess because I think whatever it is that's going to be, we will never be able to see it coming.
Do you think this marks like a like an actual change for Nintendo? Because like when we've talked about this before, it's there have been Zelda games developed by Capcom, and like Smash developed by Bandai Namco. This is obviously like on a different level, right? That it is a Mario game developed by Ubisoft.
Yeah, I think it's like the fulfillment of the promise that has been made with these like Hyrule Warriors games.
Yeah.
And like Nintendo for a very long time was very protective of their IP, and more recently, part of it just out of necessity of especially in the Wii U era, getting HD games out the door.
Right.
They needed to partner with people to do that. And I think like Smash was super fun, and some of those games have been fun, but I think if this was a model going forward, I think that's much more exciting than like Star Fox Warriors or something.
Yeah, sure. Just like another Warriors game. Yeah, I love that this isn't a Rabbids game and it's not a Mario game, but like it has the aesthetics of both and is a totally new kind of gameplay for both these franchises.
Yeah, I think that's the exciting part of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that I think is going to do it for our discussion on Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. If you enjoyed the episode, please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. And if you know someone who needs to know a little bit about Mario Rabbids, you can share the episode with them.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Remember, we don't care at all about spoilers, except apparently when we do. Which is never.
I don't believe in them.
Yeah, so if there's an aspect of the game that you're dying to talk about that we haven't gotten to yet, like please share with us.
Yeah, and also who do you take with you? I guess we both said that we're kind of versatile, right?
Yeah,
it's fun to switch them up.
I think you have to be.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. That you do a fight, then you're like, oh, those were the wrong rabbits to take with me. Also, I didn't mention it, but the Mario Rabbid always has a toothpick in his mouth. And I just love the like little bit of attitude that implies. He's like a little James Dean. You can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @NinCartSociety. Check out the Facebook page, which is just NintendoCartridgeSociety.com. That's where just Nintendo. Oh no. The Facebook page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. So you can communicate with us in either of those places or by sending an email to NintendoCartridgeSociety@gmail.com. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, we write about comic books on RetconPunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. From my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?